physical. Young Jock was seen trying to calm everyone down, but even he couldn't stop what was unfolding. Furniture was flipped, cameras were knocked over, and the production crew had to shut everything down immediately. Sources say Mona Scott was on site, screaming at the cast to stop, but it was already too late. What was supposed to be a celebratory rap turned into pure chaos, with shattered equipment, bruised egos, and rumors of lawsuits flying. Fans are now demanding to know the truth. Why did everything explode? What secrets were exposed that pushed the cast to their limits? And why is the network staying so quiet? One thing's for sure, this isn't the end. It's only the beginning of the most shocking love and hip-hop scandal yet. It all started innocently enough. The final day of shooting for Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta was supposed to be a celebration. The cast had made it through another season. The drama had reached its peak, and everyone was looking forward to winding down and taking a break. But no one was prepared for what would go down that day. It began with a casual conversation between Mendeecees and Kirk Frost, two men whose rivalry had been brewing for months. The tension between them had been simmering, but it was supposed to be settled in front of the cameras for a big, dramatic finale. What no one expected was the sheer intensity of the argument that would unfold. The fight escalated quickly. It started with a simple disagreement over a comment Mendeecees made about Kirk's parenting. Kirk, who had never been one to back down, fired back with a comment about Mendeecees' past mistakes, implying that he wasn't in any position to judge. That's when things took a turn. Mendeecees, already on edge from the pressure of the season, snapped. His face turned red with anger, and he lunged toward Kirk, pushing him with all his might. Cameras caught the moment, but what followed was even more shocking. Yandy Smith, Mendeecees' wife, who had been trying to maintain some peace for weeks, jumped in to stop her husband. But her efforts were futile. She shouted at Mendeecees, "This isn't the time, babe. Stop it." But Mendeecees wasn't listening. The situation was spiraling out of control. Rashida, always the voice of reason, tried to intervene as well, but she only made things worse. She called out to Kirk, "Don't let him do this. Show some self-control." But Kirk, now enraged, snapped back at her, "Don't tell me what to do." The chaos that followed was a blur of insults and accusations. Mendeecees and Kirk were shouting at each other, their faces inches apart, while Yandy and Rashida tried to pull them apart. But it was clear that this wasn't just a petty disagreement anymore. This was personal. Emotions ran high, and no one seemed to know how to de-escalate the situation. The crew was visibly shaken, unsure of how to handle the intensity of the confrontation. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the set. The scene that followed was even more shocking than the argument. Kirk, in a fit of rage, shoved a nearby prop table, sending it crashing to the ground. It didn't stop there. Mendeecees, too, was seeing red. He knocked over a set piece, sending a mirror flying across the room. The entire set looked like a war zone. Fans watching from the sidelines were in shock. No one had ever seen Love and Hip Hop like this before. The drama had always been intense, but this was something entirely different. Young Jock, who had been trying to keep a low profile during the season, suddenly stepped in. He walked up to Mendeecees and Kirk, trying to put a hand on each of their shoulders in an attempt to calm them down. But the situation had gone too far. Mendeecees pushed him away, telling him to stay out of it. "This is between me and Kirk," he shouted. The crew didn't know what to do, and the producers scrambled to figure out how to stop the madness. It was clear that this was no longer about the show. It was real, raw, personal. In the midst of all this chaos, Mona Scott, the mastermind behind the entire franchise, was reportedly on set. Eyewitnesses claimed that she was seen running around, yelling at the cast and crew to get it together. "This isn't what we planned. Get it under control," she allegedly screamed. But the damage had already been done. The set was destroyed, the cast was divided, and what should have been a moment of closure had turned into a full-scale meltdown. As the argument reached its peak, security stepped in, but even they couldn't control the scene. Mendeecees was reportedly escorted off the set, still fuming and yelling. while Kirk Frost was left standing in the middle of the chaos, looking just as enraged. Yandy, visibly shaken, stood in the background, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Rashida, on the other hand, was seen storming off, muttering under her breath about how this was supposed to be a celebration, not a disaster. The aftermath was just as dramatic. As news of the fight began to spread, fans took to social media to voice their shock. Did you guys see that fight on Love and Hip Hop? This is a whole new level. One user tweeted. Another added, I thought the drama was scripted, but this is real. They really went at it. Rumors started circulating that this fight was the final straw for some of the cast members. Sources close to the production claimed that several people were talking about quitting the show for good. I'm done with this toxic environment, one cast member allegedly said in a private conversation. The network, meanwhile, scrambled to manage the fallout. Some reports claimed that they tried to cover up the extent of the damage, but the truth was already out. Leaks started flooding the internet, with fans sharing behind-the-scenes footage of the destruction. The reunion special, which was supposed to air soon after the season finale, was put on hold. The producers, desperate to salvage what little was left of the season, began considering how they would handle the fallout in future episodes. Would they address the fight head-on, or would they sweep it under the rug? As for the cast, the situation was far from over. Mendeecees, Yandy, Kirk, Rashida, and the others were left to pick up the pieces of their broken relationships, both on and off camera. Some sources claimed that the tension between Mendeecees and Kirk was so high that they might not even be able to share a scene together in the future. Others said that Yandy was considering leaving the show to protect her family's reputation. It's not worth it anymore, she was reportedly heard saying. The cast members weren't the only ones feeling the impact. The fans, too, were divided. Some were still loyal to the show, insisting that the drama was what made it so addictive. Others were disgusted by what had happened, calling for the network to cancel Love and Hip Hop once and for all. This isn't entertainment anymore, one viewer commented. It's just exploitation. As the final day of shooting came to a close, the question on everyone's mind was, what happens next? Would this catastrophic event be the end of Love and Hip Hop, or would it only push the show into even darker territory? One thing was certain, the drama was far from over. And as the cameras turned off and the set went quiet, the cast, the crew, and the fans were left waiting for the next shocking twist. As the cameras rolled, tension simmered between the cast members. The crew, used to the dramatic outbursts that had become synonymous with Love and Hip Hop, knew this was different. What had started as a simple disagreement had rapidly spiraled out of control, becoming the most intense conflict in the show's history. This time, it wasn't just about on-screen drama. This was personal. Kirk Frost, who had been at the center of the controversy from the start, was defiant. After his heated exchange with Mendeecees, he made it clear that he wasn't backing down. I'm not afraid of anyone, and I'm sure not afraid of Mendeecees. He was heard saying, his voice rising with frustration. His arrogance was palpable, and it only seemed to make the situation worse. Those close to him noted that Kirk's behavior had become increasingly erratic in recent months. He wasn't just angry, he was lashing out, trying to assert dominance in a world that was beginning to feel more and more out of his control. Rashida, his wife, was caught in the middle. She had always been the calming influence in their marriage. But this time was different. The tension between Kirk and Mendeecees was beginning to tear apart her family. She had witnessed the turmoil firsthand and struggled with how to support her husband while also protecting her family's reputation. I just don't know how to fix this anymore, she told a close friend, her voice filled with emotion. I never wanted it to get this bad, but every day it seems like things are falling apart. But the cracks in Rashida's marriage were becoming more visible by the day. The once solid bond between her and Kirk was showing signs of strain. Behind closed doors, Rashida had begun to question whether staying in the marriage was worth it. She had always been the voice of reason in their relationship, but even she knew that some battles were too big to overcome. In the face of the chaos on set, she began to feel more and more isolated. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was less inclined to forgive or forget. "I'm done with this show and everything it stands for," he told a crew member during a break. "I came in here to show my family's journey, but all we've gotten is drama. This isn't real, and I can't be part of it anymore." His frustration boiled over, and his anger wasn't just directed at Kirk. It was at the entire production, at the system that had allowed things to escalate to such an extreme. Yandy, his wife, was caught in a tug of war. She had always supported Mendeecees through thick and thin, but the stress of the situation was starting to weigh on her. "This isn't what we signed up for," Yandy confided to a trusted friend. "Mendeecees is done. He's ready to walk away from everything, and I can't blame him. This isn't the kind of environment we want for our kids." Yet, Yandy couldn't ignore the reality of her career. She had built an empire with love and hip-hop, and leaving it behind was not a simple decision. The show, which had given her a platform to showcase her story, was now the very thing threatening to tear her family apart. She was faced with an impossible choice: stand by her husband and walk away from everything she had worked for, or stay on the show and risk losing her marriage in the process. "I don't know how we got here," Yandy said, her eyes filled with tears. "I thought we were building something beautiful. Now, I don't know if we're even going to make it through this." As the arguments raged on, the producers scrambled to contain the fallout. It was becoming clear that the situation was spiraling out of control, and the carefully curated image of love and hip-hop was beginning to unravel. "We need to get this under control," one producer was overheard saying. "We can't let this break the cast apart, not with the finale coming up. We need them to be a family, not enemies." But despite the attempts to mediate, the divisions within the cast were only growing deeper. Young Jock, always known for his sense of humor and lighthearted approach to life, was visibly shaken by the growing animosity on set. "This is not what I signed up for," he was heard saying in frustration. "We're supposed to be a team, a family, but it's like everyone's out for themselves now. I just want to get through this without all the fighting." Jock had always been the peacemaker on the show, but even he had his limits. As tensions mounted, he began to pull away from the drama, staying silent and avoiding the heated exchanges that had become commonplace. However, it wasn't just the cast that was affected. Fans who had once celebrated the ups and downs of their favorite stars were now expressing shock and disappointment. Social media exploded with reactions, with many calling for the show to be canceled altogether. "This is ridiculous," one fan tweeted. "I can't believe the drama these people are creating. This is not what we signed up for." Others were equally shocked by the fact that the show was so far removed from its original premise. "They've completely lost their way," another fan posted. "This isn't reality anymore. It's just a bunch of people pretending to be something they're not." The producers, in a last-ditch effort to salvage the show, brought in a mediator to try and resolve the issues between the cast members. The mediator's role was to facilitate a group meeting where everyone would have a chance to air their grievances and, hopefully, find some common ground. But as the meeting began, it quickly became clear that the wounds were far too deep to be healed with a simple conversation. "I've had enough of this," Kirk snapped, interrupting the mediator. "We're not here to fix things. We're here to set the record straight." His defiant attitude only added fuel to the fire, further escalating the conflict. As the meeting continued, more cast members spoke out, their frustrations pouring out in a torrent of emotions. "I don't care about the show anymore," one cast member said. "It's just a paycheck at this point. We're all being played, and I'm sick of it." The other cast members, once united by their shared experiences, were now speaking candidly about the toll the show had taken on their lives. "This show was supposed to be our ticket to something better," another cast member admitted. "But all we've gotten is drama, and we're all paying the price." At this point, the producers realized that they were facing a crisis. The show, which had once been a cultural phenomenon, was now teetering on the brink of collapse. The fractures in the cast were too deep, and it was becoming evident that some members might not return for another season. "We can't keep going like this," one producer confessed. "Something needs to change, and fast. Otherwise, this show is done." With the finale just days away, The cast was forced to face the reality that their futures were uncertain. Would they be able to work through their differences and continue the love and hip-hop saga? Or was this the end of an era? The fate of the show and the relationships that had been so central to its success hung in the balance. As the days continued to drag on, the emotional toll on the cast members became impossible to ignore. What had begun as a dramatic on-set dispute had now ballooned into a full-blown personal crisis, affecting everyone involved. The fallout from the explosive altercations was far-reaching, and no one, not even the producers, could predict what would happen next. Kirk Frost, ever the lightning rod for controversy, found himself at the center of the chaos. His earlier words, filled with defiance and anger, had struck a chord with many. "I'm not backing down from anyone, especially not Mendices," he had said more than once as tensions between the two men reached new heights. But as the days wore on, it became evident that Kirk's bravado was starting to crack. Deep down, he knew that he had crossed the line, and the fallout was far from over. Behind the scenes, Rashida was struggling to hold it all together. The wife and mother had always been the one to keep the peace, but even she couldn't deny the strain that this conflict had put on her family. "I don't know how much more I can take," Rashida confessed to a close friend as she paced back and forth in her dressing room. "Kirk is pushing everyone away, and I can't keep pretending like everything is okay." Her voice trembled, betraying the vulnerability that lay beneath her usually composed exterior. As Rashida dealt with the fallout from her marriage, Mendices and Yandy were having their own private reckoning. The couple had always been a fan favorite, their love story one of the more heartfelt arcs on the show. But now, things had reached a boiling point. Mendices, who had always been calm and collected, was visibly agitated. His frustration had been building for months, and it seemed that the time had finally come for him to speak out. "I didn't sign up for this," Mendices vented to Yandy one night after a particularly tense day of filming. "I came here to show the world our journey, not to be caught in this endless cycle of drama. The lies, the manipulations, it's all too much." Yandy, who had always been the supportive partner, tried to calm him down. "We've been through worse, babe," she said softly. "We'll get through this like we always do." But even Yandy, who had seen Mendices through his darkest moments, was beginning to question their future on the show. "I can't keep pretending like everything is fine," she admitted to a close friend. "Mendices is done with this, and I don't blame him. This isn't the life we envisioned for our family." The cameras had captured countless moments of raw emotion over the years, but nothing could prepare the viewers for what was coming next. With each passing day, the conflict deepened, and no one, not even the show's producers, could keep the drama contained. What was meant to be a simple reality show had turned into a high-stakes game, with reputations, relationships, and futures on the line. As the drama continued to unfold, the rest of the cast watched in disbelief. Young Jock, known for his easygoing nature and humor, was stunned by the level of animosity that had taken over the set. "I never thought it would come to this," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "We're all supposed to be a family, but it feels like everyone's turning on each other." Jock had always been the glue that kept the group together, but even he knew that the situation had gone too far. The producers, who had prided themselves on creating the drama that fans craved, were now struggling to regain control. "We can't keep pushing these people to their breaking point," one producer said, speaking to a group of colleagues. "We need to figure out a way to mend the rifts, or this show is going to collapse." The producers were facing a dilemma. The drama was what had made love and hip-hop so popular, but the personal toll it was taking on the cast was undeniable. The question now was whether the show could continue, or if it was too late to repair the damage that had been done. Despite the attempts to mediate, the situation continued to deteriorate. The cast members, once united by their shared experiences, were now divided by a deep-seated animosity that no one seemed able to shake. "This isn't fun anymore," one cast member confessed to a crew member during a break. "We're all just going through the motions, but no one really cares about each other anymore." The once close-knit group had been shattered, and the cracks were only growing wider with each passing day. As tensions mounted, Kirk's behavior became even more erratic. His defiance toward Mendices had only served to fuel the flames of the conflict, and it was beginning to show in his actions. "I'm not going to let anyone tell me what to do," Kirk shouted at one point, his face red with anger. "I'm not backing down from anyone, not even Mendices." His words echoed through the set, sending a wave of unease among the cast and crew. It was clear that Kirk wasn't just angry, he was unraveling, and no one knew how to stop it. Meanwhile, Rashida was faced with an impossible decision. Should she continue to stand by her husband, or was it time to walk away? The decision was weighing heavily on her, and she had no clear answers. "I don't know what's going to happen next," she said quietly, "but I can't keep living like this. I need peace." Her emotional turmoil was evident, and it seemed like no one could offer her the reassurance she desperately needed. Yandy, too, was at a crossroads. She had always been the steadying influence in Mendices' life, but even she was beginning